I want to talk a little bit about, I'm going to change the name of this presentation because I absolutely hate the word customer. Whenever I was involved in a project, and I've been in the IT world for now coming up on 30 years, when I'm treated, or either myself or our business partner, when they treat me as a customer, most of the time, those projects fail. When they treat me, or when I treat them as a partner, most of the time, at least in my experience, those projects succeed. So I want to share a story with you. When I first took this job, I walked into an office and I was handed a market survey and basically checked for $3 million to say, hey, go out and develop this system. This is what we want. I did all the study for you. Don't worry about it. Just go out and do it, and you'll work with my team. Here's who you need to work with. And I looked and I said, no. And she took a step back and said, what do you mean, no? You IT people in the crowd are going to love this. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, wait a minute, I'm your customer, okay? I pay your salary. So how many IT people heard that term before? I pay your salary from the business line. I see a couple hands up there. And I looked and I said, actually you don't. I'm with the United States federal government. Let's look at our checks. They both come from the same organization. The United States federal, the taxpayer pays our salary. So when we change that mindset of treating each other as a customer, I think it really put a new light. And again, this isn't anybody here within the organization that I'm at now. It's when I started my federal services. But it really put to light where I think the critical success factor is. So my first tip, if I can, please, and what worked for me, is treat each other as partners. Whether you're the business, whether you're the IT organization, whether you're a vendor, if you treat each other as partners, you're going to increase the chances of success dramatically. All right, so let's define who our partners are, okay? So we at GSA, the IT organization, we're a partner in this microcosm of the leasing community, if you will. We have federal agencies. Our partners, our leasing office's partners, they're a key stakeholder. They're a key partner in this. The Office of Leasing, the other 4 business lines within PBS, they're a partner. Our outsourced vendors are partners. Our brokers, who we rely on in some cases to help us with the leasing volume. $5 billion of business is a big, big business in working with these customer agencies. So there's many different components of this process here and of this solution and of our stakeholders. We all have to learn to partner with each other. And really, there are 4 things that I want to mention in terms of the definition of our partners and some of the critical success factors. Got to state the case to transform. Got to state the case, and you got to determine what's at stake. And there was a book that I like to read by Chris McGough called The Primes. I don't know if anybody's read it, but it's kind of a really neat, it's a very simple book, it's a very easy read, and it gives you some really cool lessons learned, if you will, in the journey of leaders, how leaders transform the organizations or their respective organizations. And one that really hit home to me was anytime you're dealing with the partners, anytime you're dealing with people, there are 3 important items that people listen to or people react to and people look for when they're trying to make decisions. Number 1, people, the analytic in us, we think with our heads. These are mostly the IT people. We need to do this transformation, we need to do this change because of X, Y, and Z, and usually it's the head is driving us. There are some people, and many of the people in the business community, they think and they act with their heart, okay? Their emotion. We need to do it this way because I don't want to damage the way our current workflow or change the way our current workflow works in a particular business line or in a particular region. And then there's the financial people. They do it with the wallet. So you need to keep in mind when you're dealing with your business partners, worry about the head, those analytics that are out there, and convince them that this is the right thing to do. Focus on sometimes the heart, and especially you have to determine who these people are that are making their decisions based upon their heart. And then, of course, the wallet, the financial people. And we put together, I think, a pretty good business case, keeping in mind those three components as we selected this BPM product suite. Collaboration, early, often, and honest. And this is really the distinguishing factor, in my opinion, between a customer and a partner, is the word honest. In many cases, we have a hard time being honest with our customers because, after all, the customer is always right. Well, most of the time, quite frankly, the customer is wrong. But we're afraid to tell them. We don't want to be honest with them. So by distinguishing or eliminating that customer service provider relationship and going into the partner relationship, really, as I said before, helps you with success. Get into shape. Sprints. This is the way we did this with our business process. We did a little development, we did a little validation, we did a little rework, and we continue to have sprints. We're on, I think, sprint number 19 in our process, and we're not quite there ready for deployment yet, but we're getting close. We heard from the last presenters about the agility aspect of this. This is going to go back. I grew up, as I mentioned, in Pennsylvania, but I'm a big football fan. And one of my heroes growing up was a linebacker by the name of Dick Butkus, a Chicago Bear linebacker. And the big saying when I was growing up, this man is mobile, is agile, is mobile, and is hostile. Okay, so I want to apply that to the IT world, right? We need to be agile. We need to move around. We need to be able to deploy to market, get the product out there quickly. We need to get our solutions out to where the work is actually taking place, and that's the edge of our environment. That's the field offices. That's where the actual work happens. And then hostile. And why did you come up with hostile, Phil? When I gave this presentation before, parts of this presentation before, I said, well, I couldn't find anything that rhymed with agile and mobile, but I had to figure hostile. And I think it does go back to the honesty, as I mentioned before. We have to challenge each other, challenge your business partners, challenge yourselves, and have that honest conversation. In many cases, saying no is the best thing that you can do, or pushing them forward to take the next step or to take the next plunge. That's what it's all about. So really, the lesson learned when I encapsulate all this is trust those around you, trust the universe. You might not know what the answer is right now, but somebody out there in your business process units, or in your business partner universe, does know what the answer is. We got to trust that we'll find the answer. We might not know it now, because we're transforming the way we're doing business, but we will find the answer. You just have to trust those around you because they'll help you, because we all have one thing in common. We want to succeed with making this solution successful for the business. So if I can, this is, 1 second right here, this is our Assistant Commissioner of the Office of Leasing, Chris Weisner, and he is one of my key stakeholders in this, and I know he views me as one of the key stakeholders in the success of this project too. So I want you to hear what Chris said about this process that we're undertaking together. This is a message that he put together for our leasing community. Can you please play the video?
Hello, I'm Chris Weisner, PBS Assistant Commissioner for the Office of Leasing. I'm excited to update you on our new national leasing application called GSA Real Estate Exchange, or GREX. Over the last 2 years, Lease Reform has provided revolutionary changes in leasing by introducing improved processes and documents to the leasing community. As we continue to make changes to our leasing process, we want to make sure you, our most valuable asset, have the technology you need to become proficient leasing professionals. With the launch of GREX, you will have the go-to tool to help you become more agile to meet the rigorous needs of our clients. GREX was designed and developed in response to inefficiencies identified within our leasing program. Our tools were unable to adapt to the changes as a result of lease reform and did not meet the needs of our leasing community. By partnering with the OCIO, we have bridged the gap between lease reform and our previous lease application tool, eLease. GREX uses technology to facilitate business process management in leasing, creating a consistent lease procurement across all regions, easily integrating new processes and resource requirements, while offering more transparency through improved data collection, metrics, and reporting. The GREX project is a huge undertaking and is a team effort. You have a crucial role in its success. As we continue to reach out with...
Okay, we almost got through that. Gotta love technology. So, the important lesson there, guys, to be really honest with you, and the biggest tip that I would say is find the partner that shares your same sense of urgency, your same sense of success. And I think that's what Chris and I have done. And I'd like to call him out. He's actually here. Chris, can you please stand up and give him a hand because he's my partner. So thank you. And some would argue, you know, sometimes it helps when you kind of have a lot of similarities. Both Chris and I, we're a little challenged with the hair follicles. Both Chris and I are, you know, we're robust guys. Like, you know, I mean, both Chris and I, when we're in our staff meetings and our executive meetings, we're always running to turn the damn air conditioner on because we're big and it's hot. And all the runners in the office are turning it down. But in all seriousness, we do have a lot in common. We do share the same passion. We both came from the private sector. So we bring that private sector mentality into the federal marketplace, which I think is so, so cool in this whole process. So Chris and his team have been a great partner, and we're a great partner with them, and that's what I think you need to be successful. So let me touch base on quickly on the start of our journey. Years ago, many years ago, pre-Chris, pre-Phil, a lot of people that were involved with this, leasing was a paper process. Much like we heard with Crawford, there's a lot of paper activity going along. Many, many documents, okay, to get a lease out. For those of you that are in the government world, there's a lot of procurement rules and things of that sort that are so, in some cases, we would consider why do we have to do it? But it's the rule, it's the mandate, it's the process, it's the policy. We have to follow certain guidelines imposed upon us by the federal government. There are laws that we just have to do. We tried to, we automated that paper process. It was an electronic document file. It's basically what it was. It was an e-filing system, if you will, for our leasing. In many cases, or in almost all cases, it was very unstructured data. It was PDFs, right? We would create the leasing documents, we would scan them, and that was the essence of our electronic files. All right, and the system had some business logic and business rule, and it served its need. It really did. It really helped the paper process. But as we evolved, and especially under the leadership of of Chris and his team, there was, I think, an aha moment in the leasing world, and that was called what we consider lease reform. This is where the business folks took a look at the leasing process and you said, you know what, that really doesn't make sense to do it that way. Why are we going through the same steps on a $100 million effort that we do with a $2 million effort or a $1 million? There's different clip levels. There's a little different navigation stream, if you will, depending upon what the lease process, what the approvals are, what type of lease you're dealing with. So there was a lot of effort that went through called lease reform. Had nothing at all to do with the system. Nothing at all to do with the system. This was all done on the back end, if you will, or off system, as the leasing community did this, took it upon themselves. And once they had that done, that lease reform done, Chris came and said, Phil, can you help me automate this? you know? And I said, well, sure, you know, we got to go through our governance process. We got to put a competitive procurement out. We can't just go and do this. But we did. We started the process. We put a competitive procurement out. And that resulted in GREX. Okay, and we're about 10 months into this effort. We haven't deployed yet, so we're not as mature, if you will, of the last presenters you had. But nevertheless, we're really close to making this thing a reality, and we're really excited about it. So, let's talk a little bit about what the design is for our GREX system. Okay, it's, I get this question a lot, and so does Chris. Why is our leasing process so complicated? God, it can't be that hard. It's just get a damn lease out. Come on, guys. Why are we spending? It is a very complicated process. And we didn't know how complicated it was until we took upon this effort. We never had the facts to say, hey, it's a complicated, we said it's a complicated process, but we never had the facts to back it up. For the first time, I think, we have some key statistical data that we can show to some of our executives who are asking those questions. Why is it so hard? Well, we've defined 200 individual processes, including sub-processes. Over 1,400 process nodes, task, notifications, alerts, things of that sort. Over 30 individual user roles, whether they're brokers, whether they're managers, whether they're contracting officers, whether they're executives, whether they're end users. There's 30 individual roles. So if you take those permutations of 30 roles over 200 processes, boy, you can go in a lot of different directions, a lot of different directions. And in many cases, much like we heard with Crawford, people were in the past going in many different directions. Many different directions. And in many cases, taking liberty upon themselves to get the job done. There was no ill intent, but it might not have been the right thing to do. So putting together these methodology and these designs and understanding the workflow and the model really helped us to bring home you know, why it's this complicated. And the system actually helped us navigate some of this process. One of the big components of the leasing area is the last item down there. We have what we call lease clauses. And these are legal clauses that have to be blessed by everybody. In the past, people were taking some liberty to maybe change a couple words here and there. That's not a good thing. The lawyers get really, really antsy when you start doing it. But they have that capability. They have the capability to go outside the system to get their work done. It's flexible. They got their work done, but it might not have been the right thing to do. So what this process showed us is not only identifying all these components, but it showed us trust the system. Let the system be the system, okay? It's a structured set of integrated components that work together to produce a common output. That's really the definition of a system. And that's why we took this design, we folded it around to make that system a reality. And we're, as I said, we're about that close for launching. So we're right in the last phases of our UAT testing, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit.